there is a series of games that I personally really enjoy, and it's a series that I feel doesn't get enough attention, or at least I don't hear people talking about it anywhere near as much as I think they should. And maybe that's in part because the last one was some 3 years ago, at least in like the main series timeline, or maybe it's just because either people just don't really know about it, or when you compare it to other, big name JRPGs, maybe it doesn't carry quite the same weight. But you need to know about this series, right? And that is, of course, the Tales of series. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys just heard that or saw the title and were like, I already know what this game is. And if you do, that's cool, right? Because, I love the Tales of games. However, in light of Tales of Arise being announced this year at E3, which looks incredibly exciting and we will definitely talk about in parts throughout this video, the kind of main purpose of this is I want to talk about why it is that I love Tales of so much, because for me, this is a standout JRPG that I hold this above many others, right? I mean, it's no secret that I'm not a die-hard Final Fantasy fan. And I'll explain why I kind of didn't grow up with that in the same way that everyone else did. But for me, my kind of JRPG series, if I really have to kind of pick one amidst the crowd that I love, it has to be Tales of. And Tales of just ticks so many boxes for me. And it's a series that, in fact, most recently, in light of Tales of Arise being announced, I'm actually going back and doing another Tales of Vesperia playthrough on Nintendo Switch. So, a little bit of gameplay of that in this video, only from the beginning, because I've just started my new playthrough, so forgive me for not showing you a huge variety of it. But this series is really important. Now, I will say, I'm not like a super die-hard fan. I can't say like I can with Zelda games where I've played every single one. I haven't played every single Tales of game. I discovered this series with Tales of Symphonia back on the GameCube, which I still believe to be one of the best games I've ever played. Tales of Symphonia is so good, and I really want like an HD remake on Switch. I know there was like a HD version at one point on PS3. I want it on Switch, alright? Tales of Symphonia, still to this day, is my favourite Tales of game that I've played. Characters are really awesome. Like, I still want Lloyd in Smash. I still want Kratos in Smash. Like, those two guys, so flippin' awesome. But, let me go back a minute. The reason I like this so much. So, I always kind of have this discussion with people about, when people have their favourite series, or when they have kind of marquee series from their childhood that kind of stands out. I typically find that people are either like big Zelda fans or big Final Fantasy fans. Doesn't mean to say you can't like both, but invariably you grew up with one of the platforms, right? I grew up as a Nintendo kid, and I know Final Fantasy was on that, right? But the first kind of exposure to one of these two series for me was Zelda. My first Zelda game was Ocarina of Time, and I didn't have a PlayStation back then, so I didn't play Final Fantasy VII, I didn't play like the hallmark Final Fantasy games, so I grew up with Zelda, kept on playing those new titles, and that basically became my pathway. Now, as a result of that, I appreciate Zelda's not a JRPG, but there's a reason for me speaking about this. If you go down that pathway, my exposure to Zelda is suddenly an open world with real-time combat, this action, adventure, and, going through dungeons, fighting different bosses, fighting different enemies, but everything is in real time. And as a result of that, that basically solidified my love for real-time combat. Now, when I then got exposed to things like turn-based games, it wasn't really my jam. Now, I will say there are a couple of exceptions. I love Pokemon. I have played every single Pokemon game, and that is one turn-based game alongside things like Advance Wars, Fire Emblem, those kind of games. Those ones I can deal with. But generally speaking, and this is a personal opinion, but generally speaking, I'm not really a turn-based guy, right? I want to be in complete control of my character, right? Because for me, in turn-based games, I always go through the same cycle. There'll be a time where you start off and obviously you fight everything that comes your way to begin with. Then there comes a point where you've got a mission and you want to go somewhere and you don't want to be dealing with the random encounters, so you skip a few of them, and then suddenly you find you get further along the way and you're super underleveled, you're fighting a boss, and because I need to stand there and I can't dodge, I basically get hit and I'm like, now I've got to go back and grind. I do this in every single game. And why is it in turn-based games? It's always the caves, right? Turn-based combat and random encounters, especially in caves, are like my kryptonite, right? Pokemon even has it. There will be a time where you're just trying to go through a cave and you just want to get to the other side, and a flipping Zubat comes out again and just, it's like, hey, you've seen me for the past 20 encounters, but what's up? And I'm just like, my guy, I just want to get out the cave, I want to go to the Pokemon Center, I want to buy some new stuff. This is the torment that I go through when it comes to turn-based games. Invariably, I'll be in a point where I've skipped one too many battles, I'm in a bad place, so yeah. What I like about real-time combat, and this is where I'm going in a very roundabout way, we're going to get back to Tales in just a second. What I like about real-time combat is that even if you are under-leveled, if you are skilled enough, if you can evade the moves enough, if you can be strategic about the way you're placing yourself in the battlefield, you can come out on top even if you're fighting something you, technically speaking, shouldn't be doing. And that is something to me that I've always enjoyed. So enter Tales of. When I first discovered this in Tales of Symphonia, it did two things that I really, really liked, which was a kind of pet peeve from other JRPGs that I played. I could see the characters, I could see the enemies on stage or kind of in the field, so although there were encounters that I could randomly walk into, I could see them, so I could actively choose whether I wanted to avoid them or not. And I had complete and utter control of my characters. So if you guys haven't played a Tales of game before, it has this really, really cool, really unique real-time combat system. You encounter your enemy, you go into the sort of battle sequence like you normally would, and then you have complete control of your character. You have a team, and of course the rest of the team are typically AI controlled. You can issue commands for them, you can change the status, you can kind of, tweak them so that they can behave slightly, more sensibly. If you want to put your casters at the back and stop them from running up and getting hit, you can say, stay at the back, avoid combat. You have complete control over them, you can swap between them and things like that. So, you don't have to just rely on the AI teammates, but when you're in control, you can run around the field, you can switch your targets, you can, completely free roam around. You can of course just run straight towards them. There's kind of like this auto combat system where you just like run a straight line, but you have this freedom. So as a result of this, when you do start fighting some of those bigger, tougher creatures, and there are a lot of them in this game, there will be some crazy bosses that you need to fight, and they're super strong, right? But the point is, if you're sensible about it, and you can, organize your team well, and you can place yourself well, and you can run around the battlefield, even if you're a little bit under-leveled, you can still get through. And I just really, really enjoy that freedom, that kind of, almost that challenge aspect. I'm the same kind of person that in something like World of Warcraft when I first played, and there were enemies that were too high level that I clearly shouldn't have been fighting, I still tried to fight them. Sure, I died in the process, but I tried, right? And that's where I want to be. Whereas at least if I'm in turn-based and I'm like, well, this guy's 10 levels higher than me, if he hits me once, I'm basically dead, right? And then, short of doing like a defensive move in my turn or something, then anyway, I'm not trying to say turn-based games are bad. By the way, this is not me hating on turn-based games. This is just my thought process for why I personally lean more towards real-time. So, Tales of offered that, right? Tales of had, of course, these really cool anime design characters. Again, like as an anime fan, I love the aesthetic for it. It, of course, has these huge, expansive worlds. And while the stories might be slightly more predictable than, say, some of your other JRPGs, they still go deep. There's some really, really deep moments. In Tales of Symphonia, there were some unexpected moments, there were some heartbreak moments. I played through Tales of Symphonia 3 times back to back because there were different endings, and there was a time when, I would say spoilers, but the game's been out for such a long time, whatever. There was a time when Kratos betrays you, but then he can come back on your team in a really, really cool outfit, and I wanted that, so I had to go through a special conversation tree. Anyway, I did that. That was really cool. He's the one that I wanted in Smash Brothers. So yeah, that was super cool. So you have these, you have this cool world, you have these cool characters, you have this very cool visual style, and the combat is so cool. You have all these different moves you can unlock, and you start getting these cool kind of combos that you can build up in combat. So it almost has slight fighting game elements. I don't really want to kind of call it a complete fighting game, but the way that you can link your regular attacks into your special attacks kind of has those sort of semi-fighting game feel to it. And I think that's also partly what resonates with me well in combat, because you go in, suddenly you find that you unlock a few different special moves and they actually link together. You get one that like launches someone, and then you follow up and use like a aerial attack, and then you can kind of team up with other people. You've got like overdrive meters and stuff. There's a lot of flashy, over the top stuff in the combat that just makes it seem really cool. So overall, the Tales of kind of games and the Tales of series has just provided these like really, really unique take on combat. However, that being said, what interests me now is looking at Tales of Arekkz, because that new trailer looks amazing, but also kind of different. Now, they did say on the official website that they are introducing some new kind of takes on the traditional combat system while still keeping the traditional sort of DNA intact. Now, what I noticed from the trailer, it's interesting because anytime you see a trailer, you never really get the complete flow because obviously they cut between stuff. So, the trailer paints this picture whereby you're just running around the open world as you would in a Tales of game. You see the enemies and you can just freely attack them. I don't know whether in the Tales of Arekkz game there is that kind of transition flow when you attack them and suddenly you go into the battle sequence. They might have just taken that out to create that illusion for the trailer. We don't know that much just yet, but the visual style is amazing. They're kind of doing that thing where quite a few games are doing that now, where if they kind of had that anime style to begin with, that sort of slightly flatter, more traditional, effectively looking like it came out of an anime style, whereas now they're adopting this slightly more 3D model, different kind of sort of cell shading, like half real, half anime style. There's probably an actual animation term or an actual kind of proper description of that style. I don't know what it is, but the visual style has definitely taken a big step. But it's gone in the right way. It looks amazing. It's not one of those things where they've kind of taken this huge drastic change where you're like, that doesn't look like a Tales game. Like, you still get that Tales vibe. You still get the Tales DNA, seeing that from the cutscenes, seeing that from the feel of the characters. You can still tell it's inherently a Tales of game, but it definitely looks very different. So I feel like, with that being said, if you've never played a Tales of game before, if you've never really like gone into the series before, then this could actually be a great entry point for it. It could be one of those ones where you're like, you know what, I'm going to discover the series now, in the same way that maybe when people kind of got into Monster Hunter in the past, they might have looked at the previous games on like handheld and be like, the graphics aren't for me, and then suddenly World came about and they were like, yo, hello, let me find out about this game. So if Tales of Arise is going to be your first Tales of game, I mean, obviously I don't know what it's like, but this could be a great entry point. So basically, what I'm trying to say, in my long roundabout way, is that the Tales of series is really, really cool. What I love about it is that it has this real-time flow, this cool, unique combat system that I personally haven't seen in any other games before. Maybe it does exist, maybe I haven't discovered them yet. I haven't seen them before, and for that reason it stands out to me as one of my most noteworthy JRPG series. If someone turned around and said, you know, name your favourite JRPG series, for me, it would 100% be Tales of, because, you know, it resonates so well with me based on the kind of games that I like. And I suppose also when I made that Zelda comparison before, you can almost kind of take Zelda-y aspects, because there's, you know, dungeons in this game and there's some parts where there's little puzzles you gotta solve. So for me, when I first played it, when I first discovered it, it kind of had a few of the things that I liked from Zelda games in an RPG. So I was like, well, you know, I'm on board with that. So yeah, that's kind of my my reasoning behind it. That is why I love the Tales of series so much. That is why it's a series that I think you guys should check out if you don't know about it. Vesperia is of course recently released on Switch, which runs great as well, so that's definitely become my new travel game. I'm trying to juggle that and like Fire Emblem and Forager right now, so it's a crazy juggling act. But yeah, I'm definitely playing through that. I want to just sort of like have another one banked, another one kind of completed just before Arise comes out. Anyway, that's enough for me. Of course, once we hear more about Arise, I'll be sure to let you guys know. I'll be sure to cover that one. Hopefully once we get into next year, we start seeing some more gameplay, getting a chance to go hands-on. So rest assured, I'll bring you some of that stuff on the channel. But until then, let me know in the comments down below, what do you think about Tales of? Are you an existing fan? What's your favourite game in the series? And if you haven't played it, what do you think about it? Is it something you might jump into when Arise launches next year? I really hope you guys enjoyed that video. Remember to hit that subscribe button and also click on the little bell icon to turn on notifications so you don't miss my next upload. Also, don't forget, you can check out 269 and Paradise Central streaming over on Twitch 6 days a week. You can find a link to the multi-stream in the description box down below. Be sure to drop by and get involved. Thanks again for watching. Take it easy. Catch you next time. Peace out.